IQ breaking in 2017.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
The Salt with Justin.
Maybe you're in a job and you feel like you're locked down and you can't figure out how to bridge the gap.
Isaac.
But when people are desperate, that's what creates that action.
And David.
I will tell you, I've never one day regretted looking for myself. One day I've never regretted doing this. It's been the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah! Turn up the heat! Delivering your startup fix.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to The Salt, and we're on our second episode. I'm Justin Osborne, and I'll let the crew introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Isaac Bell. I'm a young entrepreneur, and excited to be here.
Hey guys, it's Dave Gavin. Glad you made it.
You know, we were talking last week about taking action, and we listed some reasons of why it's important to take action, and we listed reasons why people don't, and you guys are going to kill me, but I just wanted to make a couple of afterthoughts about that. And what I really wanted to talk about was, you know, and I know David and I talked this week, but you know, you look at what we've done with this show already, and I think it's a good example or a good illustration of taking action. You know, in 10 days, literally 10 days was the first time we talked about this idea. And the way it came about was all three of us recognized we were all passionate about personal development and entrepreneurship and starting businesses, and we just enjoyed talking about it. So we found that passion, and then we had a conversation 10 days ago, and then since then we've cut our first show. We did we built a week intro that we're working on. You know, we edited and dropped an entire show. Hopefully you've seen it. If you hadn't, you can check it out. We've revised some of our direction of what we're trying to accomplish here. We created a YouTube page, a Facebook page, an Instagram page. You know, David talked to somebody from Australia online today about the show. So I just wanted to make the point in recap of last week. I think it's a good example of what we're doing to take action. And I think people are afraid sometimes to work inside their passion. We talked about it before, but I think you have to. And I think you'll be empty and you'll be regretful if you don't. And you know, don't do it for the money, you know, do it for you. The money comes when you do great things, and those great things are done when you're working, you know, with a purpose inside of your passion. So didn't want to go back and beat a dead horse that's already dead again, but I just thought that this was a great illustration of taking action. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that, or if you guys want to kick off our topic this week.
Yeah, real quick, just on what you said too. We took a lot of action. But nothing that we've done is, and I think you guys would agree, is perfect. But we took action, and you know, we've made changes along the way already. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think a lot of people get into this. You know, for me, I know, and you guys are a perfectionist. You know, I want it to be done. I want it to be done exactly right. But I think taking the action and not having the expectation like it's going to be perfect in a week, it makes it a lot easier to get through it. And again, we've done all these great things with the show, and I am very, very pleased. But we've got a lot of room to work on, and we've made all this action, and it's not perfect, but I feel very, very accomplished that, you know, as much as we've come, and obviously we have some tweaks and things along the way, but it does feel very, very good to have come as far as we have.
Yeah, man, I'm having a lot of fun. I mean, everything that I've done so far, you know, it might be work if you're doing it for somebody else, but it's just been a lot of fun, and there's not a lot of pressure, guys. I mean, look, we're starting this as a hobby, and if it turns into something else, great. We just want to help other people out and share our experiences, and I think that's what we're doing here. So,
Isaac, why don't you kick us off? Today we're talking about what successful people do in the morning.
So I think before we start, you know, talking about what actually people do, I think it's important to discuss why is it important to, you know, have a morning routine, or why is it important to wake up early in general. So some of the reasons I have, you know, obviously when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have less distractions. I mean, let's face it, guys, when you get to work, you know, you've got a million things coming in. You've got your email, you've got your phone ringing off the hook, you know, you've got people asking you questions depending on where you know, what kind of industry you're in. So you can wake up in the morning and just have some quiet time to where you can handle whatever you want. So there's going to be less distractions. Obviously, too, I mean, you know, let's face it, when we wake up in the morning, our brain's fresh. We haven't had to deal with the 50,000 emails and the people, you know, all the issues at work and all the different things that we have to deal with. So your brain's going to be more focused. It's going to be more charged. It's going to be ready to go. Obviously, waking up early in the morning is going to give you more time. So, you waking up earlier extends your day. If you want to wake up an hour earlier, you can wake up 2 hours earlier. A lot of people have excuses. Well, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to read. Well, if you wake up an hour earlier, you're creating more time throughout the day. So that's a good thing. Just in general, having a routine is going to make you more effective. I mean, it's essential as Pavlov's dog, conditioning. You ring the bell, dog salivates. I mean, doing something over and over and over again, you're going to expect better results. So it's creating that routine process of, the same thing over and over again. It's going to get conditioned. It's going to make it better for you. It's going to make it easier. Honestly, I mean, you're going to be able to be a little more decisive in the morning just because your brain's going to be fresh. You're going to, you're going to be better. And some of the things we're going to talk about is going to show you how you're going to be more effective on your day. I don't know if you guys have anything to throw in on that.
Yeah, routine is huge because I think in the morning, I mean, what I use the morning for is to reflect and project, right? So I use it to reflect on what happened yesterday, but I also use it to project the future, what I'm going to do today, and visualize what I'm going to do today. And you're absolutely right. As far as the decision-making process in the morning, there's not, I mean, it depends on, how busy you are, obviously, guys, and appointments and all those types of things. But it gives you an opportunity to make less decisions in the morning by setting a routine because things are already predestined or pre-planned to actually happen, either in a certain order. For me, I'm a huge routine guy in the morning. I've got an X, Y, Z. These are the exact things I do every morning. And I do it because, again, Mark Zuckerberg, perfect example. That guy wears the same shirt every morning. I don't know if you guys knew that. He wears the same shirt every morning because he thinks it's a muscle that if you use it too much decision throughout the day, you get decision fatigue. And I thoroughly believe in that, and then that happens. And so I try to do the same thing. I stick to a routine. Justin?
Well, so how long have you been wearing that shirt?
3 days.
Just didn't know.
And I stopped bathing because it takes away too much time. I can't use my cell phone in the shower.
Well, there is some decision making on how hot to make the water. So could fry your brain for the day. But no, I think
muscle memory.
I hadn't heard that. I find that really interesting, and perhaps maybe I'm going to start just wearing the same clothes every day. But no, I'm kind of being funny, but I mean, in general, I think it's an interesting idea. I wanted to talk about, a key concept that I think, and that's working out. And I think that putting an exercise program into your morning. Now, I think people could work out in the evening too if they can't schedule in the morning. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. But I've often studied, and I know in my own life, and talked to you guys, taking care of yourself in some manner is certainly something that most successful people do. It's worth considering. But if you think about even the way that we start our days, and I know I've been guilty of this. When your alarm clock goes off, you initially smack snooze, and then you do that a couple of times, and 15 minutes goes by. And then once you really wake up after you've hit the alarm clock snooze button for 2 or 3 times, you could fall into a trap very easily of thinking, okay, I'm already late. I know sometimes I'm on vacation and the alarm goes off, or I wake up and somehow I'm already thinking I'm late. And then you're thinking about how much you have to do that day. And then you start thinking about, I'm still laying in bed. And then you think, I've got this routine I'm supposed to be on. But these are the first thoughts that are flooding your mind in the morning. And I think a lot of it comes because people aren't planned and prepared of what they're exactly trying to accomplish. What is the purpose and the meaning behind a routine? So I think that if we're not careful, we can fall into an extremely negative trap within the first 20 or 30 minutes mentally. And we may even get to the point where we're thinking, I'm going to have a pretty rough day because look at the way it's already starting out as we roll out of bed. And we have to start deciding what to chop off because we didn't get up in time or we're running late. But, just to expand on the point of exercise and why it's critical, I was reading and a lot of this content I affirmed through Chris Winfield, and you can find his information at chriswinfield.com. But he talks about the mental advantages of exercise in the morning specifically, and they even referenced a study by the American Psychological Association. By creating and following a morning routine, your stress, depression, your anxiety levels all start to plummet, and your life satisfaction levels, begin to rise and soar. There's certainly there's certainly chemical effects that are happening in your brain that are increasing your mood, that are lowering depression, outside of the health facts. And then when you look outside of the physical advantages, there was a study conducted by Northwestern University that discovered that overall people that slept in late ate more calories on a daily basis. So even besides your physical conditioning, you have this mental thing that's going on. You're less prone to be eating more. Another thing I wanted to throw out about exercising too is if you ask the average busy entrepreneur, if you ask me, or if I asked you, David, or you, Isaac, when was the last time you were able to carve out time for yourself? If you think about it, most of us sit back, and I know I do all the time. I think, what does that mean? What is time for myself? Because we're so busy and occupied getting things done. But I think this morning time is an easy time to protect, to make me time. So it's time for me to focus on what I got to focus on, and I can protect it more easily in the morning. And those were the main thoughts I had when it comes to exercise, barring one more, and that was another study I found, and it was by a biologist named Christopher Randall. And he said that mornings are also when people tend to be the most proactive and productive. And this, what that means to is that you have an easier time heading off problems while getting more done at the same time. He quoted researchers at the University of Nottingham and National Institute of Education in Singapore that conducted an 83-study meta-analysis and further discovered that self-control is strongest at the beginning of the day. What was interesting about that was this spike in willpower and drive in the early morning hours can help tremendously. So much that they even said that you're more likely to be moral or make moral decisions in the morning than you are in the evening. So I think that these are all great reasons to, if we're not exercising the way we should, and I think we all sometimes go in waves, only the best may be the most consistent, but I think that exercise is something to highly consider putting in a consistent routine in the morning because of those effects.
Heck yeah, it's a stress reliever, man. I mean, exercising in the morning, get all that stress out, shock the body, wake yourself up, like you said, Justin. That way you get to work and you're energized, or you come into a project and you already feel energized. Look, I don't love to go to the gym, but after I'm done, I've never been upset that I wouldn't focus on something that I needed to do. So I think it's, again, set a routine for yourself in the morning. Start exercising. And I think I really want to make this. Look, we're all busy guys. You're watching, you're busy. I get it. But you guys have to take this time to really focus on you. And I think that's what the morning really is about is, again, Justin, we don't have a lot of time. Let's take the time that we do have and focus on it.
Absolutely, completely agree. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in this, and I completely agree with what you said, Justin, is I think having a plan is very important. And I think for people to actually consider the benefits of why it's important to wake up. And I found myself, we talk about hitting a snooze. I found myself doing that. And I thought about it, and I was thinking, why do I do that? Why do I hit the snooze button? And it's pretty, it's pretty simple. Your bed is warmer and more comfortable than what you have going on. So if you don't have a big enough reason to get out of bed, you're not going to get out of bed. So you've got to find the value in why do you want to get up? Why do you want to read? Why do you want to, work out? If you don't have a big enough why on those things, then you're going to stay in bed because it's warmer. You're tired. You don't feel like, most people, the average person doesn't really feel like getting up. But when you have that energy, when you have that, think about, it's Christmas morning, right? Everybody's excited to get up because you got presents under the tree. So if you can make whatever you have going on that day, Christmas morning to you, to a kid, so to speak, you're going to be more motivated to get up and get out of bed. So that's what I've found for me specifically. But what I wanted to talk about, something that's been very, very, very helpful and influential in my life is getting up and experiencing gratitude. How many times you get up and again, you've got the stress of work, maybe you have, personal issues going on, whatever the case may be. We're thinking about, anybody watching this show, I think it's safe to assume it's pretty goal-oriented. They're going to have goals throughout the day. We're focusing on what we want, what we don't have, what's, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years down the road, right? And it's tough to remember to stop and think about the things that we already have, we're blessed to live in America. There's people over in other countries starving that, living on a dirt floor that are, you know, freezing and dying to death. So, I mean, we have our hands, we have our feet. I mean, there's so many things that we should be thankful for that we just don't stop and think. So what I like to do, what I've had a ton of success with, is just taking, you know, 3 to 5 minutes and just, you know, and you're calm in the morning, you know, everything's good, and just kind of meditate and reflect on what you're grateful about. And I don't know about, you know, everybody else, but for me, I've had kind of, my mind's racing so much, you know, that I sometimes have a hard time. So what I like to do is actually write it down, and write down, you know, 5 to 6, you know, 7, 8, how many ever you need things to, you know, to kind of reflect on what I'm thankful for. And I find that it's good to start with something small. Again, I mean, you know, we first look at that big thing, and we're thankful for our car or our house or whatever, but think about small things. Like, we have our hands and feet, you know, we have a heart that was given. I mean, so many things that we're blessed with that we don't even think about, you know. So try to start with something small to be grateful for, and then move from there and go on to, you know, bigger and better things. You know, and I was thinking about this, I was doing a little research, and a lot of people say, we talk about the morning ritual, but a lot of people fail to plan, you know, the night before. If you're having trouble getting your brain charged, maybe start the night before and write down, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 things we want to focus on in the morning. You know, if you're more of a night person, do that at night, so when you wake up, you have that already prepped, so you don't have to think about it, and then you can, you know, look at your gratitude list there. But I find it's also helpful to, you know, to do this in the morning, and to, you know, to sit there and focus on that. But you know, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I would agree. I might term it differently than, I've never thought about it as gratitude. I like the way you coined that. You know, one of the things that's really critical to me in the mornings, and I believe most successful people, especially entrepreneurs, is that they have, you know, when you use your morning routine and you engage in some type of, you know, centering type behavior, whether it's, you know, prayer or meditation or journaling or, you know, practicing visualization or offering gratitude, I feel like you're more at one with who you are yourself, and you're actually connecting more to your purpose, whatever that purpose is. And I think, you know, I talked a little bit about passion last week, because I think it's at the core of taking action. And I think being successful throughout the day and using the morning, finding your purpose and being in touch with what your purpose is equally as important as doing something you're passionate about. And when, you know, I think when you're connected to your purpose each morning, and then you go out and you execute on your passions, I think you're going to truly find some inner peace with yourself and all that. And I think it's going to reduce stress. I think it's going to create a more happy, if you will, or a less stressful or a more inner peace in what it is you're doing. So my thoughts on that, gratitude is, I would probably coin it more as spiritual, whatever your spirituality is, to pay attention to that side of you, because I believe that you have to be in touch with what your purpose is. Why are you here? And what is your business? What is your day? What are the things that you're planning have to do with the purpose of why you're walking around in general, or what that means to your family, or what that means to your culture, your society. These are big concepts, but I think that, you know, I think smart, educated people that are upward mobile, you know, have consideration for these things.
Yeah, Justin, and I think really the morning time, I mean, spiritually, self-awareness, morning really is where you set your blueprint. I mean, if you're looking at it like an architect, that's when you really establish your blueprints of what your motivation is. What are your goals today? Where's your focus at? What are you grateful for? And again, it all goes back into starting and kickstarting that motivation that's going to get you out of bed into that routine and moving forward.
Well, you know, you mentioned, you know, your blueprint. I like that idea. Another thing that I think is critical in the morning time, and part of the fun of this is trying to take the puzzle or the Rubik's out of all these things you're trying to fit into a morning, and make sure you're not waking up at 1 a.m. to get all these things done before you start your workday. Yeah. So you got to find ways. And maybe some of that is, you know, doing some reflection, or you were talking about doing reflection of the past and planning for the future. You know, maybe some of those things you can incorporate into your workout or into a walk or whatever. But, you know, when you talk about blueprint, you know, one thing that I find is top priority. A top priority is identifying what it is you're going to accomplish that day. And this goes into a little bit about goal setting, but I think this is something I practice on a daily basis, and it's always served me well. I have to, in the morning, identify what it is that I have to truly get done that day. What are the most important things that need to be accomplished?
Priorities.
What are the priorities? And those things, and if you're confused about how to pick those things, if you're sitting back and you're wondering, okay, what things are the biggest priorities, they are typically in line with your overall goals. So if you have a master plan, or if you have a major goal, then your daily goals contribute to getting to that larger goal in the fastest path possible. And I think sometimes every morning, if we're looking at our day and saying, what can I do to be the most effective today? It's the 80-20 rule. We've always heard that 80% of the people do 20% of the work, and 20% of the people do 80% of the work. But you also find that same theory applied in your actions and your activities towards accomplishing goals. So 80% of your efforts are going to yield you 20% of your results. And if you're not careful, and 20% of your efforts will yield you 80% of your results. And if you really think about your background and your success, we spend a lot of time The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey talks a lot about the 4 areas of time. I had to read it 10 times just to get it. The different quadrants of what's important and what's critical. I think the morning time is the time to spend 10 minutes, and I can do this in 10 minutes and say, what do I really have to get done today? And then that is how I schedule my day, not 8 to 8:30, 9 to 9, 9 to 9:30. I say, okay, what's the biggest, hairiest problem I got to solve today? And I go attack that bad boy in the morning. And then what's number 2 on the list? It also provides you some flexibility, because if you try to schedule by hour your day, you're going to find that real life interrupts it. You get a phone call.
Adaptability.
And you get somebody interrupts you, and you then feel like you're failing because you're unable to stay on task, because you built this great calendar that you spent 2 or 3 hours yesterday building. It was a waste of time. And now you're not on your calendar anymore because life changes. So I really think when you time management, you really need to focus on priorities of the day, identify what they are, and then just go tackle them, run them over, and then hopefully by the end of the day, the things that are left over weren't going to yield the largest results anyway.
Yeah, Justin, I think that, you mentioned that, and I think so many people get caught up in the little details of what they're planning or what they're doing. Like you said, I'm going to throw it into my phone, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And what ends up happening when you guys do that is you end up compiling basically stress, or you end up compiling a workload. And before the day even started, you've already set up the blueprint, or you've already set up your day for failure. From the morning, from the time you woke up, you set yourself up for failure. I think that's the real secret, guys. That's the real core of what people need to understand is don't start the morning off negatively affecting yourself. If it's your time, use it wisely. Don't. And I would say personally, if you're like me and you pick up a phone and you have to check emails and you have to go through and you can't take you time, spend 30 minutes in the morning without picking your phone up and really focus on those things on your own.
It's interesting, that you bring up the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because the first chapter in that book, it actually took me a while to get into that book, but once I got into it, I was just obsessed. And the first chapter of the book is about being proactive versus reactive. And essentially, to me, what you guys are talking about is having a plan together so that you're proactive, whereas when something comes in that you weren't prepared for, you're twice as prepared because you have a plan. You're not just reacting to everything. You have a game plan, a blueprint, as you say, David, to go, this comes, and you have your entire day planned. And you may not have it planned out, step by step, but you're primed, you're ready to go, you're in a way better state that you would be just by being proactive. Think about it. When you go into work and you woke up late and you had to rush to work and, now you're stressed. And then, when you're employed, now you snap at one of your employees, because you're stressed out. And, it's just a snowball effect of negativity versus you wake up early, you have a game plan and, that you stub your toe, as you say, or whatever. And that doesn't affect you as much because you're in a way better state. You're primed for, a way better state. And that kind of brings me to my next point of what I wanted to talk about. And it's visualization. which kind of ties into what you were talking about a minute ago, Justin, and kind of having a goal in mind for your day. So to take it a step further, I like to visualize that goal. I've recently been doing a lot of studying about law of attraction, and they some of the stuff I agree with, and some of the stuff I don't. But a lot of the stuff that I do agree with is, I'm a big believer in brain waves and positive energy and positive is going to get more positive results back. And so what a lot of people do is, and what I've done and what I found very effective is to write out, in the morning, 3 to 5 goals. Again, I mean, you do the gratitude 3 to 5, and these, I think it's easy, 3 to 5 of things you want to accomplish. And you may not start with what you want to accomplish 3 years down the road. What I typically try to start with is something small. What do I need to do? What's one small thing that I want to get done? But instead of just writing it down on a piece of paper, I want to think exactly how that goes. So, if I'm going in for a job interview, I want to visualize and feel, what do I look like walking up? Am I smiling? What happens when I walk through the door? Do I shake the guy's hand? How do I shake it? Do I shake it confidently? And, visualize that complete interaction. And you'll find that once it happens, I mean, you've already done it in your mind. I mean, they've done research on people, they were performing a task, and I can't remember the exact study, but basically there was a study group and there was a regular group, and some people performed the actual task, and it was a task that they weren't used to doing. And again, sorry, I don't know the exact study, but basically there was a task they performed, and it was a task they weren't used to. And then other people would just basically visualize and think about the task. And they found that the people that were visualizing the task versus the people that had actually been performing the task physically, there was no difference. I mean, the people actually that were performing the task, I mean, they were just as good as, and this was a task that they weren't proficient at. They haven't ever done it. It was something that was challenging to do. So it just kind of shows you that when you are visualizing things, it does help. I mean, it's going to help prime you. It's going to help prep yourself for success. So I don't know if you guys have experienced anything like that, or if you guys implement anything like that into your life.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I know you have a strong interest in that type of study, and I think my study and one of my hobbies that's really similar to yours is in neuroplasticity, specifically the work of Dr. Shad Helmstetter, who I've studied under, and I believe that a lot of what you're talking about, the visualization, a lot of that has been applied to goal setting, and even visualization is attributed to historic Olympians, and they were studying how they were visualizing them performing, and that's where some of that actually is somewhat new psychoanalysis, if you will, or psychological study, but comes from the Olympics, and some interesting stuff on that. But yeah, I hope we can have an episode that's fully dedicated to neuroplasticity and the way our brains operate, because fascinating topic.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, super interesting stuff.
I also want to mention too, I thought this was interesting, was something I found from a guy, Hal Elrod, who's the author of The Miracle Morning. The level of success that you're able to achieve is only as high as the level of personal development that you're able to achieve. And it might all start with what you do each morning. And he goes on to say that how you wake up each day and your morning routine, or the lack of thereof, a morning routine, dramatically affects the levels of success in every single area of your life. Focused, productive, successful mornings generate focused, productive, successful days, which inevitably create a successful life, in the same way that unfocused, unproductive, and mediocre mornings generate unfocused, unproductive, and mediocre days, and ultimately a mediocre quality of life. And just by simply changing the way that we wake up in the morning, we can transform any area of our life faster than we may have ever thought possible. I thought that was interesting, the way he posed that.
100%, and I think that's kind of coming full circle. I mean, with exactly what we talked about, that it's your time to make a decision with what type of day you're going to have. I did want to throw it out there, guys. Maybe some common missteps that entrepreneurs have, or when people look up videos like this and say, "Hey, look, I really want to know what successful people do in the morning." And I think you're also going to find a lot of different opinions based on where people were at in their success. So if a guy's here and he started from here, his morning routine's probably going to look different from here than when he started here. And I was talking about the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world and the Oprah Winfrey's and the Lady Gaga, and I kind of watched this study where they talked a little bit about what these people did in the morning. But guys, these people are going kite surfing for an hour in the morning. Kite surfing, and that's just part of their morning. You might not have I can't go kite surfing in Kansas, so that's not even an option for me, and I don't own any of the things to go do that. So I think one big thing, guys, while you're watching this is realize, look, maybe don't try to take all these things on at one time. Tackle them like you tackle problems in your business, and that's one at a time. Find one of these things that you can relate to or that you can start working on, whether it's the visualization, whether it's the gratitude, whether it's connecting spiritually and getting yourself motivated and fired up and visualizing how great your day is going to be. And pick one thing and just start working on it, a little bit at the time. And I think one of the most important things is, number one, waking up on time, keeping yourself and holding yourself accountable and making sure you're following those steps, guys.
Absolutely. And to tie with what you said, I think we addressed at the beginning, it's, this may feel foreign to you on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I mean, I don't know where it was said, but 21 days to create a habit. I mean, this isn't something that you're going to just wake up the next day and feel amazing. I mean, it's, it takes time. And like David said, implement a couple of whatever's comfortable for you. I mean, push yourself, but don't get so, crazy with trying to fit, 30 different things in your morning. I mean, guys, we're all busy. I mean, we don't have, 3 hours in the morning to do this stuff. So take what works for you. Something that works for Justin might not work for me, and maybe, something that works for you, take what you can, like David said, but try it and commit to, what do you guys think? 21 to 30 days. I mean, I would say commit to 30 days of doing a couple of different things, 3 to 5 things in the morning. I mean, waking up, obviously it's going to make more time for you, and then pick a couple more things to fill in the gaps and set a 30-day, and if you, first of all, I guarantee you're going to see results. There's no if. If you take these things, I can speak from personal life, and the whole fact that they do studies on this of entrepreneurs and why they do this is because they're successful. I mean, there's no if it works. It's just commit to 30 days doing it, and you will see results.
Well, and I think part of this, too, is not just speaking to the entrepreneur that now owns his own business, but look, the guy with the 9-to-5 or the woman with the 9-to-5 that is wanting to start a small business or is interested in topics like these, your morning time, if you have an hour and a half in the morning to yourself, you woke up a little bit earlier, or maybe you only had 30 minutes before, but you woke up, now you got an hour and a half, reflect for 30 minutes, do the steps that you want to start taking, and then use that other hour to grind on your passion and really work on that. And I think what's really cool about that is before your hustle or before your grind or before your entrepreneur business is pops up and it's an everyday thing and it starts feeling a little bit more like work, it's a really great way to get motivated in the morning that you're doing something that you love to do. So I think that keeps you on track too, and it's getting things accomplished for your startup or for your next venture. So I think it's a great time to focus on you. And if you is building businesses before your 9-to-5 starts, do that, because it's going to make you happier, and it's going to, come on guys, it'll radiate from around you when you're at your 9-to-5 job.
Absolutely.
Cool. That was a great talk.
Good talk.
Yeah. Had fun. So I think that's it, guys. I mean, I feel like that's a good stopping point.
Yeah.
Do we want to continue talking and then cut this out? Is that, can we do that?
Why don't we do the outro so David's fresh on what we're doing? And then I would vote we click off here and get on the phone on a 3-way.
Sure.
Cool.
Sounds good. Are you doing the outro, David?
I can, yeah, if you want me.
I'll do it next time.
Okay. Hey guys, that's all we've got for the Salt episode 2. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe. Interact. That's the most important thing. Ask us your questions. Give us your comments. Let us know what you thought. Check us out on Instagram at The Salt Show. We post 3 or 4 pieces of content. We want to start trying the live stuff too, so stay tuned to that.
Boom.
Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Cool.